So as you guys know, or as you're about to know, I hate conspiracy theories. I don't care how big or small they are. Conspiracy theories are like the tweakers outside of a 7-Eleven. I avoid them at all costs. But every so often, you come in contact with a tweaker you can't avoid. And for me, flat earthers are the tweakers of the conspiracy community. I don't think I've ever seen a group of people be proven wrong over and over, but yet still believe what they think is right. I don't think I've ever seen a group of people be proven wrong over and over with stuff that dates back to 5th century BC. You know how long ago that was? That was when the Parthenon was still up and running. You fucking nerd, you know that? You're a nerd, you knew that. You knew that without me even telling you. But even though this information is relatively available to anyone who puts in the effort to search for it, there are still people, celebrities even, who have come out publicly to say that they think the earth is flat. Some even thinking that dinosaurs don't exist, but we're not gonna get into that today, alright? Maybe for another video.
I just can't fathom a T-Rex walking around here.
But when the list of people you're joining begins and ends with Tila Tequila and Bob, it's safe to say that you're in the company of some fucking idiots. But Kyrie Irving was probably the most famous person who said that he thought the earth was flat, amongst other things. And having celebrities say things like that is never good because there are people who will blindly follow what a famous person says without doing any research on the topic themselves. Like everyone who thinks the earth is flat will tell you, well, you gotta do your own research, you gotta take NASA's word for it, and you gotta read this very obscure book that proves once and for all that the earth is flat. And it's like the people who write those books are making a living off of idiots like you. No one in the flat earth community believes the earth is flat. They have all just been brainwashed into believing what someone else has told them. Like there's this documentary that came out in 2018 called Behind the Curve, and they obviously go around and talk to people who think the earth is flat. But at the end, at the very end, this guy is setting up an experiment and says that if this happens, the earth is flat, but if this happens, then the earth is round. And this is what happens.
You have a backup experiment. If you're seeing through this hole, through the next hole, and seeing the light at the backboard, or at 17 feet off the water, the earth is flat. If he's holding it up at 23 feet high and we're seeing the light, well, that's because the earth's curved. Enrique, how high is your light?
17 feet.
Lift up your light way above your head. Interesting,
as he is proven to be retarded on a Netflix documentary. But some people go to even greater lengths to try and prove us roundies wrong. That's not what they call us, but I'm claiming it back. But you guys might remember in 2020, Mike Hughes got into his homemade rocket and launched himself in an attempt to prove that the earth was flat, only to have his rocket come crashing down because his parachute malfunctioned at takeoff. Now, I don't know what launching yourself in a rocket would have told you that a regular plane ride wouldn't, but even this guy knew flat earth was stupid and simply used it as a PR stunt to get funding for his rockets. You flat earthers directly funded a man's death. Congratulations. But still, even after all these red flags were popping up everywhere, people still wanted to believe we lived on a floating disc. I guess when you look at the big picture, thinking we live on a floating ball doesn't seem any less crazy, but it's factual, no matter how odd it may sound. But yesterday, I saw this video on Twitter saying that this flat earther spent $35,000 to again prove something that was proven back when people thought sneezing was a death sentence. But this guy, Jeran Campanella, who some call the world's most famous flat earther, took the $35,000 trip to Antarctica to see the sun stay out for 24 hours straight, which, if you didn't know, is apparently something that would not be possible if the earth was flat. This is how most, if not all, flat earthers think the sun works, and this guy was like, let me take you to this so-called spot right here and show you that we're nowhere near the edge of anything, but also, the sun doesn't work like a fucking mobile you put in a baby's crib. And this is what he discovered. This is what, not even he discovered, this is just what he came to realize after being an idiot for so long.
Sometimes you are wrong in life, and I thought that there was no 24-hour sun. In fact, I was pretty sure of it. But I respect Will Duffy for being a stand-up guy, at least in the way that he kept saying it was true. I kept saying it wasn't. He said, "Do you want to go? I'll take you," and brought me here, and it's a fact. The sun does circle you in the south. So what does that mean? You guys are gonna have to figure that out yourself. Don't listen to my beliefs or my opinion. It shouldn't matter to you, but at least you should be able to accept that the sun does exactly what these guys said as far as circles the southern continent. So I honestly believe there was no 24-hour sun. I honestly now believe there is. What does it mean? You have to figure it out. You know, to me, it means that the AE map no longer works, but that doesn't mean that I'm right. It means that it could work. You'll have to figure out how, because I've tried and I struggle with it. The other thing is a 24-hour moon. It seems like the moon does circle here. as well.
No shit, you F word. Dude is literally face to face with the giant object in the sky that proved him wrong, and he's like, well, what about the moon? I haven't seen her peek her head out yet, you know what I mean? But the funniest part about all this is that he still won't admit that the Earth is round. He says, we gotta figure it out for ourselves, as if that wasn't the whole point of his trip. Flat Earthers are some of the biggest losers on the planet because they just can't admit they're wrong, because then their life would go back to being meaningless. Your whole life has been spent believing this one thing, and in a matter of a day is it all gone. And what's even stupider is that he still tries to justify this flat Earth map as being correct, even though this trip he's on was to directly disprove that. But he's like, it still works, you guys just gotta figure out for yourself how it does. And it's like, hey dumbass, you can't just be like, well, the sun doesn't work that way actually. It worked. Actually, hold on, let me think of something that'll cost you $100,000 to disprove, alright? Because $35,000 apparently wasn't enough. And it's not like the guy who was proving him wrong is some crazy anti-conspiracy theorist who's just as crazy as them. No, it's just some dude who live streamed himself in Antarctica to prove flat earthers wrong.
I was also told that if we somehow did make it here, that NASA would make fake clouds to cover the sky so that we couldn't see the sun. And as you can see, blue skies.
But like I said, all these people's lives would be meaningless without flat Earth, so even if an alien came down, took them in their spaceship, and shrunk Earth down to the size of a marble and showed them, be like, look, it's a ball, they'd still be like, I'm not really so sure about that. I mean, can you give me a little more proof? Flat Earthers can eat dog shit for breakfast, brunch, lunch, dunch, and dinner. And also, if you made it this far in the video, apparently the guy didn't pay for the trip, so he didn't really spend $40K to prove himself wrong. So whatever the title is, just know that it was better than me titling it Flat Earther Gets Some Guy to Pay $40,000 to prove him wrong. Whatever I have the title is, it rolls off the tongue better. It's still clickbaity, but I mean, what isn't nowadays? I mean, 1 out of 800 clickbait videos for me, it seems pretty acceptable. Till tomorrow, peace.